Welcome to the Digital Health Advanced Certificate Information Session. My name is Erin. I'm one of the marketing coordinators at BCIT, specifically for health sciences. And majority of our presentation tonight is going to be done by Glinda Reese, our program head for digital health. I would first like to share that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. And I know that since we're on Zoom tonight, we're all coming from other territories as well. Some of us might be at home or at work or out somewhere. I personally am at home and I'm coming from the Quequitlam territory tonight. So it'd be great if you could take a moment to acknowledge what territory you're coming from as well. So our agenda today, we'll have our welcome and introductions. That's the part I'm doing right now. I'm going to ask you a few little poll questions to find out who we've got online here with us. And then we'll do our presentation and program overview, some information about program advising and about admissions and applications, and then our Q&A, as I mentioned. And I'm going to introduce Glinda, who is now laughing at me for skipping things.
That's all good. Thanks, Erin. So hi, everyone. I'm Glinda Reese. I'm the program head for the Digital Health Advanced Certificate, and that's what we're talking about tonight. So hopefully you're in the right information session. Yeah, we're just going to go through a little bit about the program, and then we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers at the end. And if you want to pop questions in the chat as well, we'll answer those along the way. First slide. So what is digital health? So if you look at definitions around digital health, there are many. We've chosen this one. This is Anne Snowden developed this definition for the Health Informatics Management Society in the US. They have some chapters in Canada, but Anne Snowden is actually a professor at the University of Windsor in Ontario. So I like this definition because it really talks about the people side of the digital side of digital health, because it really is not just about the technology, but about the teams and the people within them and how they leverage the tools and the technologies to transform care delivery. And that delivery of care is really what our focus is on. The other thing to point out is that these definitions also encompass informatics as a field. So some of you might be interested in clinical or health informatics roles in the health authorities. And so that encompasses preparing you for informatics roles as well. And informatics kind of falls in and amongst the digital health field. So why would you want to do digital health? And really it's not just about the technology, it's about transforming healthcare. And right now, as you can probably all appreciate, we're really moving quickly in terms of technology just in the world in general, and it's affecting the healthcare system too. And so we need people who are prepared to work within these fields and at that intersection of healthcare and technology. And so we're preparing you to work in this field. It's moving very quickly. Health professionals are needed, and having that healthcare experience or clinical background or undergrad is really helpful to kind of working through the program. We do also take an alternate entry as an option for people who have been working in the healthcare field but are not actually clinicians, because when we originally put this program together, we didn't want to make this program about teaching healthcare because it's too vast and too complex to teach in a couple of modules. So our intent was to bring people with that healthcare experience into the program and then kind of move forward with more of a focus on that digital health part kind of concept. And I firmly believe that technology is something that is potentially able to help us solve some of the healthcare issues that we have at hand, the staffing issues, the workflow issues, the just generally being able to take data and use it in a way that is beneficial to the healthcare system and to our patients, families, communities, and populations. So in terms of the actual program, it's a 24 credit advanced certificate. It is fully online, other than there's a capstone project at the end. So we offer 7 online courses, and I'll talk a bit about each of those in a minute, but they're all offered 3 times a year, so in the winter, the spring, and the fall terms. And then at the end, you do a capstone project where you're working with industry and a mentor or mentors, and kind of supporting a mini project within a bigger project that already exists. And so you bring all the knowledge and skills and abilities and competencies that you've learned through the program, and you apply them to a project during the capstone. And the intent with this is to offer you like a stepping stone on your career pathway. So, ideally you might get hired onto that team, or become part of that team down the line, or it'll be something on your resume that you can use then to direct your career as well. You can also choose to do the program either in 1 year full time, so you're taking the 8 courses over the whole, including the capstone, 8 courses in 1 year. So it's pretty intense, but it is doable, and we've had students working full time and still managing to complete this full time as well. Or you can spread it out over 5 years. So we have in the program, we have some students doing full time, planning to complete in 1 year, some just spreading it out slowly, taking 1 course at a time as they move through the program. So is this something that would work for you? Are you in the right place? Is this interesting to you? And is it a good fit? And as I mentioned, ideally, you're going to come with either an undergrad in healthcare, a diploma, or a baccalaureate, or you might just be working in the field of healthcare, or you may never have worked in healthcare, but you have a healthcare undergrad, or kind of health studies. You might have done a health studies program. And so that if you have that background and you're interested in technology and kind of moving healthcare forward using technology and this kind of digitalization of the healthcare system, then this is the place you might want to be. And really seeing it as a strategy for improving health outcomes across, as I said before, patients, families, and communities. And I talked a little bit about the background as well. So in this process, you'll gain knowledge related to standards, data standards, technology, information solutions across systems. We look at the different systems, these kind of ecosystems, and how they interact with one another. We look at how you apply, measure clinical data and outcomes, and we thread collaborative change leadership and project management throughout the program. So a big part of what happens in the digital health space is the kind of implementation of new initiatives. And so being able to understand project management, change management, being able to provide kind of leadership within those types of contexts is critical. And so we do our best to prepare you as you move through the program. So all the courses, for the most part, have change leadership and project management incorporated within them, some more than others. So this is your program map, and this is on the website. It's really just an example of what this would look like if you took it over 1 year. And as you can see, if you did it in 1 year, it would be over 3 terms. You're doing 3, 3, and 2. You could do 3, 2, and 3, or you could do 2, 3, and 3. You can kind of divide it up however you want. The only stipulation is that you do digital health foundations either before or at the same time as the digital health ecosystems and the data fundamentals course. So these fundamentals courses, something sounded wrong there. These fundamental courses are meant to just provide that foundational knowledge for you. And so the foundations course is quite heavy on reading and resources, mostly because we need to kind of lay the groundwork for you as you move through the program. The health ecosystems course 7100 is looking at all the different systems that are available across Canada. We're fairly fragmented, not only in our geography, but also in our implementation of these digital health systems. And so figuring out how to get them all how to talk to one another, and for there to be interoperability between all the different systems is a challenge that we're all facing currently as well. So thinking about how we can do a better job of that and trying to kind of integrate that into the course. And then fundamentals, data fundamentals is getting, again, that sort of foundational piece, so that when you're moving into the data analytics course, you have some of the foundational data literacy so that you can do the data analytics in a way that is where you're able to apply what you've learned. And in that data analytics program, so 7250, you're looking at how we can assess data, we can find the story in the data, and then we can tell that story to different audiences. And so how we put that data together, how we kind of manage it in dashboards, etc., is really critical to delivering the information. So we spent quite a bit of time on that in that second course. 7300 is optimizing care delivery and outcomes, and in that program, in that course, we're looking at we have a learning health system approach, and we're doing very really looking at systems thinking and kind of breaking down from the big picture all the way down to mapping out workflow kind of in different contexts. So big picture down to the kind of day-to-day. And 7400, we're focusing quite heavily there on virtual care, and then also project management within the virtual care context. And then the last term is project leadership in healthcare, which is a pre-existing course in our healthcare management program. And that's, as it kind of says, it's leadership within sort of projects. And then the capstone project, I think I described more or less, is that taking everything you've learned and applying it to a portion of a bigger project in industry currently. And so you're finding that kind of stepping stone to a career pathway. I'm going to I saw some questions about things that I don't think Erin was able to answer, so let me ask here. So cyber threat, so we do go into kind of the privacy, security, legal, regulatory pieces, and what that means, and how important privacy is, and what happens when it's threatened through and a little bit around cybersecurity. We don't do a ton on that. I will say at this point, every term, in week 11, we invite guests to who are subject matter experts to come and speak to topics that the students have chosen as groups or as teams in about week 6 of the programs. And about week 6, we ask you, what do you want to learn more about? And as this example, that might be, kind of cybersecurity and what that means within the healthcare system. And so we'll bring in a subject matter expert in that topic to then speak to you. And so we do that every term. And we have different topics, and students want different things, and we record those sessions, so you can also go back and look at them as well. And then the capstone project can be done with your current job, absolutely. And that actually works out really well, because for some people, it's like the perfect scenario, because you already know the team. You have somebody hopefully who is a mentor who you can reach out to, who will kind of support you in that capstone. Other people want nothing to do with their current job, and they want to go somewhere else entirely. And what we do is sit down with you, a term or two before you do the capstone, and kind of look at where your interests lie, what ideally you would like to do once you graduate from the program, and then we line that up. So you're not out there on your own trying to find somewhere to do your capstone. We do work with you, and if you want to stay in your current job, then that works. And if you want to go somewhere else, that works too. And depending on the stream that you're interested in, we will do our best to line you up with that. And then the timings of the course. So the majority of the courses are asynchronous. So you're kind of managing the course workload and the readings and the activities and assignments it's not entirely self-paced. You're kind of having to do it week by week by week, and often kind of with your teams. But the actual synchronous sessions are there's maybe 3 or 4 in each course. And those we do in the evenings from 6:30 to 8:30, either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, depending on where you are. And they're all recorded. So if you can't make that class, then you'll have the recording to look at the next day or so, whenever it works for you. Is it for student who has little experience in healthcare, it's ideal if you have some healthcare, and everybody's different. Like, you know, if you don't have healthcare, specifically, there might be other areas you can draw on. And there, depending on what your experience is, there are some other courses at BCIT that we might recommend you do, kind of like the Canadian Healthcare System course, which would just supplement some of this knowledge so that you at least understand the context of where you're working. And I'll talk a little bit about the application process in a second, because in that application process, we also will I meet with each applicant, and we just talk about kind of what your experience level looks like, and what we can do to support you through the program in the best possible way. And then just lastly, before I move to the next slide, the CPHIMS, absolutely. So I wrote the CPHIMS before actually putting this program together, because I wanted to make sure that I knew what to expect. And so to make sure that students were prepared to write the CPHIMS exam. And for those of you that don't know, it's with Digital Health Canada. It's a Certified Professional Health Informatics Management, can't remember what the S is for, certificate. And the only thing, you'll be well prepared to write it. The only thing is that there are some requirements around having worked in the space for a while. And so your time in the program will give you some of those hours, but it doesn't give you all of them. So you may not be able to write the certificate right after finishing this program. You might need to do a little bit of kind of work or industry experience before you qualify to do that certificate. And at the end of this, we can come back and I'll answer the master's question. Let's get through the slides, and then we'll come back to some of these. So just to kind of give you a little bit of the lay of the land with our approach in this program, where we try to be very learner-centered in that you're directing your learning. You're all would be adult learners, and so you all have lives, and so we try to do our best to help you balance that and are respectful of your time. Equity-oriented, team-based, change leadership, project management integrated, as I said, flexible. And then we use a case-based approach. So you're working through case studies. And for example, 2 of your exams in the first couple of terms are case studies that you actually take home and work on, and then submit back to your instructor. And then interdisciplinary, because we've got now, all kinds of healthcare professionals coming in here. Okay, so Erin will go through some of these. I'll just say that the process involves completing a form, a pre-admission form, which comes to me, and then I review the form, and then I meet with you to kind of work through what, if you have accepted into the program, then we'll set up a time to connect and meet. If you're not if it's like, oh, you're a definite no, I'm not just going to say no, and and that's it. I will reach out to you and explain why, and we can have some discussion. And then Tracy, so the credit towards a master's degree in health informatics. So we're working currently with several universities to match up some of those course credits. You may or may not appreciate that every university works slightly differently, and is also looking at us to kind of try and understand what this certificate entails. So most of them wanted us to deliver it for 1 year before they would kind of commit to anything. And so we've done that. I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, it's a fairly new program. We just had our first intake of students in spring of last year. So we've delivered a full year now. And so now those conversations with like the University of Victoria, University of UBC Okanagan, probably more than the mainland UBC, and then also Northeastern University, which is a US university but has a Vancouver campus, is also we're also in conversation with them. So there's some opportunities there as well to move into a master's degree. And I think that's me for now. I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to give Linda a bit of a break while I talk. So the first slide here I've got is the entrance requirements that are the academic requirements. So like Linda mentioned, there is a form that we'll talk about in a bit, but we'll start off with the academic requirements. So in order to come into this program, you do need to have a good solid foundation in English language, speaking, listening, and reading, of course. So you need to have 2 years of education in English in an English-speaking country, and that needs to include either English Studies 12 with a 73% minimum, or a post-secondary English, humanities, or social sciences with 73%. Post-secondary education, we are hoping that you'll have a diploma, degree, or equivalent accredited program in healthcare discipline, but as Glinda mentioned before, we do have some alternate options if you have a diploma, degree, or bachelor's degree in another discipline and some experience in healthcare. So non-academic entrance requirements, as Glinda mentioned, all applicants must complete a pre-entry assessment form, and that is linked on our website. So I believe Darren put the link to our website up in the chat near the beginning of the session. So if you can go on our website and download or click on the link to the pre-entry assessment form, you can fill that out, submit the completed pre-entry assessment form to digitalhealth@bcit.ca, and Glinda will read that. And then she will, like I said, have it schedule a time to chat with you. Once she signs off on that, you will need to submit that signed pre-entry assessment form with your online application. So backing up a bit, program details. So as we mentioned, there are 3 terms a year at BCIT. Our winter term is January to April, spring is April to July, and our fall is September to December. So our next term coming up very soon in April, I believe we do still have some spots available for April, and then after that it's our September. So the application period, there's no application kind of deadline and start. It's all year round. So whenever you choose to apply, you would start in the semester following that, should there be space. As we said, you can complete this program in 1 year, but if you do choose to kind of take it a little bit slower, the maximum time you're allowed to complete this program is 5 years. So do keep that in mind. So the application steps, review the requirements, review the application info on our website, complete that form, and then once you have your transcript and your form, convert all your documents to PDF, and you just apply online at bcit.ca. Some of you who have recently been in post-secondary or who have children that are entering post-secondary around now will know that a lot of schools have their applications through myeducationplanner.ca. BCIT does not yet, we hope to soon, but for now, all of our applications do come through bcit.ca rather than Education Planner. So once we receive that, all your application documents will be reviewed by our admissions department just to make sure you meet those requirements we mentioned. Be forwarded to Glinda again, and then we will send off acceptance letters. And your final step is to pay the commitment fee, which I believe is about $500 to secure your spot in the program. We really appreciate you being here tonight. We also want you to know that we will still appreciate you once you're students at BCIT, and we want to support you through your journey at BCIT. Even if you're an online student and you're doing most of this program online, we still want to be able to connect in with you and offer you some of the supports that BCIT has. So from left to right, just a few of the different departments at BCIT we have to support students. Firstly is Indigenous Initiatives, and they offer a welcome gathering place on campus, information about Indigenous funding, and elders that they connect with to offer supports to students that are Indigenous and students that are just interested in Indigenous issues. We also have student financial aid and awards, information on scholarships, bursaries, and financial aid is available through them. Accessibility services, this is for students who might have a temporary or a long-term disability and need some kind of extra support with their classes. It's all done quite confidentially. Ideally for students who may have had an IEP in high school or in some previous post-secondary, accessibility services is there. We also have student health services, which I think is a great resource. It's a full service health clinic, not a walk-in clinic. You do need to make an appointment, but a full service health clinic right on the Burnaby campus for any registered student. And there's a doctor, there's nurses on staff, and it's just a great resource if you can't get in to see your GP in a timely manner, or if you no longer have a GP, like many people in this province don't. Down the hall from them, we also have counseling and student development, which again is free services for all students, and recreation services. Our students have access to our full service gym, weight room, and cardio machines, fitness classes early in the morning, later in the evening, and at lunchtime. Intramurals, you can rent equipment, lots of great resources there. So in addition to giving out the email address for digital health that goes to Glenda, that I'll put up again in a minute, we also have a program advising department. If you're wondering if this program is right for you, if you meet the entrance requirements, if you're wondering if there's another program you're looking at, you can contact our program advising department. And their contact information, most up to date, is at bcit.ca/advising. And now that you have heard about our program, we'd really love to keep in touch with you on social media. So if you are on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or LinkedIn, please give us a like or a follow. It's a great way to kind of see what's new at BCIT, what students are up to, what's going on with our staff, faculty, and with campus life. It's a lot of fun. And there's always lots of ways to learn more about BCIT as a whole. We have campus tours. We have our twice annual big info session. We had one about 2 or 3, maybe 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, where we open up our campus and people come in and see all of our programs. And we have info sessions like this one running all this week. Okay, that was a lot of very fast talking for me. I didn't mention before, but I should definitely mention now. If you missed anything in the presentation tonight and you want to review it, don't worry, because we are recording this session, and in about a week's time, we'll be emailing you a link to the recording and also a copy of this slide deck. So if anything that you've missed tonight, you'll be able to review that later. And with that, I'm going to go back into the chat and see what kind of questions we might have had since Linda last answered some.
Okay, so the one question is about what kind of roles the certificate prepares people for. So I'm going to put a matrix in the chat. There's a link. So Digital Health Canada has actually come up with a career matrix, which speaks to some of the roles that are available. And you'll see that there are many. We're really preparing you for the kind of, if you scroll down, there's emerging level and competent level. We're preparing you for those roles. And really, it depends on your background and your interest, whether you want to go kind of data analytics, whether you want to go business analytics, if you're more interested at kind of projects and working on projects in the sort of digital health space, or those clinical informatics roles. And then there's some other roles that they've sort of added over over recent years with related to kind of coordination of care and technology. I will say too that many of these roles didn't, like you look at where generative AI kind of came out of it didn't come out totally out of nowhere, but it sort of just appeared about a year ago, and all the jobs that are now available because of generative AI and what that means and what kind of is involved in that space. And so in the Lower Mainland, also within BC, the ministry has made a commitment to putting kind of up, what's the word? There's a word that we will use for the just modernizing, thank you, modernizing our healthcare and our hospitals in the Lower Mainland. So for example, there's a new St. Paul's Hospital, and so within that realm, there are several new jobs, several projects. We're looking a lot at virtual care, so virtual hospitals, virtual like a command center where we're not actually, so you're not working with patients at the bedside in a traditional way, but we're still needing people who have that clinical background meshed with the technology to be able to kind of work in these environments. So, but that matrix will give you an idea of kind of what some of the options are, and there are many. It just depends on your background and your interest. And then, the other question is what does a day at work look like for a graduate from this program? It's hard to say because it depends which area you go into. I will say that most positions that kind of come to mind for me are hybrid, so probably predominantly well, not even, like I would say probably split, half, 50% at home, 50% in the hospital, or in the setting that you're in. Some of them are going between, so if you're in like a data coordinator, data analytics, you're probably in the hospital, but within a kind of office setting, and you might be going into units or kind of working with clinicians, one step away from the bedside, or you might be actually, if you're doing a clinical informatics role, you're more involved with sort of the actual units and the workflow and working with the clinicians. Yeah, it's kind of hard to answer because there are just so many different avenues that you can take, but probably more hybrid predominantly. And so there was one copy. Yeah, we'll be sending a copy if you don't have experience in this field to apply. So okay, so yeah, I think you're asking if you don't have like healthcare experience specifically. So what I say to students coming into this program, if you don't have that healthcare background to draw on, you may find it a little challenging just because we're looking at case studies and drawing on examples from your place of work for some of the assignments and some of the discussion forums. However, most of us have some interaction with the healthcare system, whether it's on a personal level or professional level. So you probably can draw on some of those. And for your example, like nutritional genomics, there's something in there that you can draw on in terms of like your experience in that space. And so as long as you come in with that awareness, we will do what we can to support you. If you really if you're prepared to sort of make it work and be a little frustrated by maybe somebody who's got all this kind of healthcare experience at their fingertips. Saying that though, within the class, we break you into teams, and in those teams, we don't put all the nurses in one and all the project people in one. Like we mix up the team. So within your team, you'll be working with other people who have healthcare experience, maybe more or different levels. And so you're able to share and bring each of your own different types of expertise and your backgrounds to those conversations. So it's just a little bit of a mindset change, but if this is a space you're interested in, then like I say, we'll do what we can to support you. And it's really going to come down to each unique applicant. And so that's why we do the interview process to kind of see what might you need and how can we support you. AI and automation, yes. So we do. So because we launched this in the spring of 2023, and kind of generative AI came out strongly in kind of the end of 2022. So we were pretty well placed. We were writing a lot of the content, or kind of adjusting and revising content at that point for the curriculum, and so we were able to integrate AI into some of even the assignments that you do and kind of the project work. And we have in that kind of guest speaker week, we will often bring in somebody who kind of can speak to some of the what's happening and what's the kind of latest, what are the emerging and interesting technologies and things that are happening kind of in the space as well. And then student-wise, we have about 20 people in each class, and then we divide you up into teams of 4 or 5 for your project, so that you're not overwhelmed by all the discussion forums. Most of the kind of the weeks build on one another. You're doing readings, looking at kind of working through activities, and posting to an online discussion forum with your smaller team, and then other people in the team respond to you, and then each week somebody from the team will summarize the kind of content of the discussions, and then you share it with the rest of the group. So then you're able to all learn from one another without it being super overwhelming and having to deal with lots of other students. So we have people working in nursing informatics. We've had quite a few people who were not in nursing informatics roles and wanted to get into informatics roles, and once they were in the program, they were hired into clinical informatics specialist roles, or a couple of people actually ended up moving kind of up and getting kind of promotions within the informatics roles because they were in the program. And then we also had somebody who was really interested in an informatics role, went in, tried it, and was just so overwhelmed, but really interested. So left that role, wanted to go back again, and now they're taking this course so that they will be prepared, and they're finding it just so helpful to be able to understand the language that's used, understand the processes, the kind of the big picture of what many of the teams that are in these kind of fields are trying to achieve. So it helps with kind of being prepared for those roles. Digital knowledge and skills. So we're not expecting you to come in knowing how to code or use Python or R or anything like that. We're really wanting you to be at least somewhat computer literate, but we kind of assume, I guess, that if you wouldn't be coming into the space if you didn't at least like technology and want to work with technology, so you have some idea of how to make your way around a computer. But we do, for example, so we don't get into with the data, we're not expecting that you come with a full stats or statistics understanding, but we do have three modules that do stats literacy. So you're understanding kind of how to read reports and how to work through kind of looking at data in a way that you can then apply to the kind of analytics field. So you're not creating or analyzing data yourself. You're just understanding how to read it and how to kind of put things together so that you can share it with other audiences. I'm just going to move to the next one, and then I'll stop. And then if I haven't answered anybody's question, we can come back to those. So how much does the program cost? So it's a little bit more than that per 3 credits. So each course is more like 950, I think it is. The exact number is on the website. So each course, which is 3 credits, yeah, I think the 300 would be per credit. So for three credits, you're closer to 900. And then we don't do an internship per se. So it's not like an internship where you're getting paid. The capstone project is intended to give you that experience where you're working with a team and kind of getting to know some people and some understanding. And then internship would be probably more like if you went on to do a master's. We do have a student who is finishing off their capstone and is going to kind of stay on a little bit longer because the project isn't finished. And so we're working out some of the parameters of that, but not an internship specifically. Is anything still outstanding for anybody on the answers on those questions in the chat?
I think you got them. But there's one more coming in. But I just want to say I did just put up the email address digitalhealth@bcit.ca. So if you have any questions after this or anything we kind of didn't answer fully for you, you can definitely contact us by email. Our website address is also on there, and then the program advising email again.
Thanks, Erin. And so the question about it, if you're a dentist from another country, interestingly enough, we actually have a student who's currently a dentist, so in the program. So if you're for Chiara, if you're interested, I'm sure she'd be happy to chat with you about her experience and what was needed. I think it's kind of, as Erin was saying, with the actual for the digital health program, the process is making sure that you have, that you're prepared and you have what we think you need to be able to succeed in the program. But you still need to meet the BCIT requirements. So it would be that process of getting your transcripts and your, all the general admissions processes that you need to do for BCIT. But if you are from another country and you have that clinical experience, we still value that as part of for the digital health program. So you're bringing that kind of healthcare experience to the conversation, which is really what we're, which is what we're interested in, as that you would be bringing from your undergrad or your previous experience. If you've got questions and you're still kind of not sure, I would suggest just fill in the form. Give me the pre-admission form, give me as much information as you can so that I can kind of be prepared. And then I'll come back to you and say, let's set up a call, and then we can have a Zoom call or a Teams call, and kind of go through some of the options for you, and I can link you up with other people who might be able to give other students who might be able to give you some ideas of what their process was like.
Glenda, I'm going to make this question from Jen our last question that we answer tonight, and then we'll have to jump off for me to go to my next info session I'm doing tonight.
Lots of info sessions at this time.
So approximately how many hours per week does a student spend on coursework?
So each of these courses are 3 credits. They're over, it's 40, which aligns with 45 hours. And we put those into 12 weeks. So it's 3.75 hours per week. But that would be if you were just coming in to do a class. So if this was in person, it would be 3.75 hours a week that you would be coming and doing class. Now, because it's online, you can spread that out over whatever amount of time you need to do. But there's also if you were coming to class, you would be doing some pre-reading and you would have assignments. So it's a similar idea. So you've got your 3.75, let's call it 4 hours, and then probably an hour in addition for your kind of reading and posting your discussions, and well, that would be part of the 4 hours. So in total, it's probably about 5 hours per week. Everybody does it slightly differently. So some people can just move through that exact same amount of work in 3 hours. Somebody else, it might take 7 hours. But the average would probably be about 5, maybe 6 hours per week. Some weeks, there's a little bit of a lag. For example, that week 11 where we bring in guest speakers, it's just all you got to do is show up for the session. So, and that's 2 or 3 hours. So it just depends.
Great, good answer. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Glenda, for all the information you shared with us tonight. We really appreciate everyone coming and taking the time to hear about this program and to share your thoughts. And thank you, Darren, for posting things into the chat for us. We really appreciate that. So yes, have a good evening, and we hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.